I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. This is your San Francisco 49ers update on Niners Radio 49. 49ers back at it on Monday as they were getting ready to prepare to take on they will take on the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs in a rematch of the Super Bowl last February. And the 49ers, some quick news. We will go to the news. They prepare to take on the Seahawks. And then we'll go on our 49ers flashback as we continue to observe the 40-year anniversary of the 1984 49ers, who went on to have a record-breaking season, going on to win the franchise's second Super Bowl in 4 years by going 15-1 in the regular season, 18-1 overall, including the postseason and Super Bowl. We'll take you back to week number 7 of the NFL, where the Niners now were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, the team of the '70s, against another Hall of Fame legend coach, the late Chuck Noll, and we will get through that in just a few moments. So, so the window for Ricky Pearsall practice is one step closer of making the comeback. The Niners' first-round pick was a victim of an armed robbery attempt in the city of San Francisco a little more than a month and a half ago, and it ultimately sidelined him through the early portion of the season. The team announced Monday afternoon they have opened Pearsall's practice window from reserve non-football injury list shortly after when he made his return to practice for a team bonus workout Week 6 following their win over the Seahawks. So that is some good news. And then open portion was brief, but Pearsall was seen running through warm-ups, raking Hull. And then Friday, Kyle Shanahan shared the team's outlook on Pearsall. His availability against Kansas City is reiterated the team's approach to his recovery. So we will Niners get ready to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. It will be a rematch of Super Bowl 58 from last February, and the kickoff time will be on Sunday. Coming up will be next Sunday, 1:25 p.m. That's going to be the late window. Fox's doubleheader. They'll be on Fox as Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady with the call on Fox Sports. So now we're going to get back into our 49ers or actual 49ers flashback. We're commemorating the 40 years of the 49ers and their Super Bowl win from 1984. Now we're just, as we're at the quarter mark of the season, we will go back into time to the year 1984. We'll also, by the way, take a look at Week 7 of the NFL score. And this is a highlight courtesy of our footage, courtesy of NFL Films from the 1984 Pittsburgh Steelers highlight film. This is when the Niners taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers at Candlestick Park. This was a Week 7 game, and we're about to, in just a moment, show you that highlight. And this is some good stuff. This is for educational purposes, and no copyright infringement is intended, and this is for educational purposes. So this was week number 7, and the Niners taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Niners, of course, in 1984 were coming off to a good start, 6-0. As we look at back the previous game we had in our look back flashback was from week number 6. The Niners were coming off a convincing 31-10 win over the New York Giants from Monday Night Football back on the previous week, and from that previous week, the 49ers were coming off that win, or coming off that win. And now they go into week number 6 as they're going to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers at Candlestick Park. This was just the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was only just, I believe, I think 12 times overall, but this was just now only their 4th or their 5th meeting overall since the 1970 league merger, and the Steelers coming in this game have won 3 out of 4, and the previous time they met was back in 1981. The Niners with a 20-17 win over the Steelers at Three Rivers Stadium during their first Super Bowl season. This time, this game is played at Candlestick Park, and 20-17, the team of the 70s, Bill Walsh and Chuck Noll hooking up, and this was the two former dynasties. In contrast, these were two teams in contrast. The Pittsburgh Steelers in 1984 were a team in transition, and of course, the Steelers won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s in 1974, 75, and they had another repeat in 78, 79. Transitional year for the Steelers. A lot of players up to that point in recent years have gone via trade or retirement, including Terry Bradshaw, retired after the 83 season, after that series of that elbow injuries. Now you had former ex-Miami Dolphin quarterback David Woodley and Mark Malone. So going into this game, the Steelers come in with a 3-3 record, battling for a top spot for first place in the AFC Central. The Niners come into this game with a 6-0 record with a commanding 3-game lead. And this is a good test for the 49ers, an interconference matchup between these two franchises. You think of the Steelers, the dynasty team of the 70s, the great owner, the Chief, Art Rooney. And then you had Chuck Noll, Bill Walsh, and then Eddie DeBartolo for the 49ers. So we will show you a good clip highlight from that game from 1984. And then we'll show you a clip highlight from that game from 1984. And then we'll hope we'll enjoy that segment. So here we go.
Montana goes back. Montana firing out to the far side. Picked off over there by Hinkle. He comes down to 45. He's to the 30, the 25. Hinkle is to 15, the 10, the 5. All the way down the sideline to the San Francisco 4-yard line.
Only one team all season beat the San Francisco 49ers. And the game's winning field goal from the AFC's leading scorer came courtesy of the new steel curtain.
Thank you. So that was, I think it was the late Jack Fleming, calling that for the Pittsburgh Steelers radio network. The Pittsburgh Steelers would go on to hand the 49ers their only loss of the season, 20-17, and a probable victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I said, this was a team in transition in 1984. And the club ended up, the Steelers came in that season, a season of transition, a transitional period. And I want to take a look at their 1984, just look at that 84 team, who they had on that team. As I'm going to pull this up and so the Steelers were a team. Most of their stars, of course, from their core, from the championship Steelers teams, have departed due to age and trade or retirement. The Steelers show signs of past glory. They end up finishing the year 9-7 to capture the AFC Central title. And then the highlight, of course, was out of one of the 9 wins came when they end up in mid-October with a win over the San Francisco 49ers. It was their only loss of the season, suffered after serving up the highlights that season. Wide receiver Louis Lips won Offensive Rookie of the Year. That was his rookie year. I do remember Louis Lips. He was going to replace the heir apparent, the Lynn Swan. Steelers stunned the Broncos 24, and then look at who they had on that team in 1984. They went 9-7, and then they had Pro Bowlers linebacker Robin Cole, a veteran, Louis Lips, linebacker Mike Merriweather, the ageless veterans, holdovers from the dynasty from the 70s. Future Hall of Famer wide receiver John Stallworth, and the late Mike Webster. And then look at you had, and then also a very young Tony Dungy was on Chuck Noll's staff, a mentor. He was on Chuck Noll's staff in 1984. Of course, he would help build the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and led the Colts to a Super Bowl. And then you look at all the because 84 was a transition year for the Steelers that year, and of course a lot of the guys were at the end of the ropes, guys like Jack Lambert, and then Larry Brown, Craig Colquitt, as well as the retirement of Mel Blount in mid-March, and the unexpected retirement of Terry Bradshaw in late July. And then additionally, Cliff Stout was the starting quarterback in 1983, while Bradshaw was injured, departed for the United States Football League. And then they would trade for Miami Dolphins starter David Woodley, who helped propel the Dolphins to Super Bowl 17 in that 1982 strike-shortened season. He was supplanted by and then, so this was a team that went through a lot of transition in 1984. This is probably perhaps Chuck Noll's best hour. The Steelers were back in the postseason. They won their second consecutive AFC Central Division title. It was their 11th playoff appearance in the past 13 years. So they end up, if you look back, they went 13, went 9-7, and they had some good quality wins. They beat the Rams, and then they end up beating the Browns. End up beating the Steelers. The Steelers fell to the Browns, and looking up who they also had. And then you look at who they had on their schedule, and then they would go on to win the AFC. They would go on the way to the AFC, win the AFC Central Division, and then they pull off another upset in the divisional playoff, knocking off the Denver Broncos, who went 13-3. They had the second best record in the AFC, third best record in all of football. Only two teams in the NFL had a better record than the Broncos. They go into Mile High Stadium and upset the Broncos 24-17. Then they go to the AFC Championship game and lose to the Miami Dolphins 45-28. And I know that they had to be disappointing, but I think you look back, of that '84 season, they kind of overachieved. Lewis Lips was named the UPI AFC Rookie of the Year and was AP, the Associated Press Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then John Stallworth was named the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. So that's a look of the Pittsburgh Steelers and their roster from 1984. Now we're going to take a look of the 49ers and recap that game from week number 7, 7th week into the NFL season. Week number 7 from the 84 49ers. The Niners end up falling by a score of 20-17. Game was played on October 14th, 1984. From 1984. And the kickoff time was at 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Game temperature at Candlestick Park, 60 degrees, 16 and 15 miles per hour wind. The attendance was 59,110. The referee was Pat Haggerty. This game was broadcast on, because the Steelers were playing the Niners at the Candlestick Park. This game was on the Peacock on NBC. By the way, this game was only aired in both the San Francisco Bay Area and Pittsburgh markets due to NBC's coverage of the 1984 World Series. Of course, the on that same day, the Detroit Game 5 of that series, the Detroit Lions and the Detroit Tigers and the San Diego Padres. The announcers of this game were Jay Randolph and Bob Trumpy. Jay Randolph, the longtime veteran broadcaster, Jay Randolph from NBC, and another legend, Bob Trumpy, with the commentating. So this was a game. It was a big win for the Steelers. The Niners probably coming off that Monday night game on a short week. Kind of a little bit of a letdown. They nearly won that game. Gary Anderson hitting a big field goal with under a minute and a half left to play in regulation gave the Steelers ahead 20-17. The Niners did march down the field to set up a potential game-time field goal by Ray Warshing, try to send it into the overtime, but he just hooked it wide left, and the Steelers held on to win 20-17. The final, as we look at the totals of the game, Steelers had 23 first downs to the Niners 22. The Steelers 47 carries, they rushed for 175 yards. The Niners 117 total yards. The Niners outgained the Steelers 358 yards. Total yards to the Steelers 324. Time of possession, Steelers 34 minutes and 45 seconds to the Niners 25 minutes and 15 seconds. That's a 9-minute and 15-second swing in favor of the Steelers. And the 49ers had hoped for a perfect season, was spoiled by when Anderson hit the game-winning field goal, and that was the end. Of course, Gary Anderson would later on play for the 49ers in 1997, and then, of course, unfortunately, Anderson missed a potential game-winning field goal with the Minnesota Vikings in the 1998 NFC Championship game, and the field goal would have put the game away. The game for the Vikings, they would have been up by 10, but instead he hooked it left, and then the Falcons came in and scored a touchdown and game-tying touchdown that sent that game to overtime, and then Morton Anderson hit the field goal that sent the Falcons to their first ever trip to the Super Bowl. But that was their only defeat of the season. Anderson hit that game-winning field goal in the fourth quarter that prevented the Niners to go undefeated. But I want to look for the final numbers of the game. Mark Malone was 11 of 18, 156 yards, a touchdown. He threw an interception. Rich Ehrenberg, 11 carries for 44 yards. John Stallworth, 6 catches for 78 yards. Joe Montana threw for 241 yards. He threw an interception. Wendell Tyler rushed for 59 yards and a touchdown. And Roger Craig caught 7 balls for 43 yards. So, with the loss, the Niners dropped their record to 6-1, and it was their only loss of 1984. Only loss of 1984. And that one loss, they only prevented them from going undefeated. Nearly came close to going undefeated. The only one blemish was to the loss to the Steelers. Steelers, by the way, improved their record to 4-3 and put them in the mix, first place in the AFC Central Division. So now let's go to take a look back of week number 7 of the NFL scoreboard from week 7. And this is from footballdb.com, the football database. And this is some good information. If you ever have time, this is good for football fans. You should always take a look at this. You know, we're going to give it a few minutes before it loads up. We'll take a look of week number 7 around the NFL. Again, check us out on youtube.com/@NinersRadio49. I do these podcasts every day, doing 49ers Live tonight, to make sure our goal is trying to get 1,000 subscribers and to try to build this thing and go through promotions and just keep on pushing and never giving up. So go to 49ers.com/ or youtube.com/@NinersRadio49. So we'll take a look. Take a look at week number 7 around the NFL as the Niners fell to the Steelers 20-17 as the Steelers knocked the 49ers from the ranks to the unbeaten. So wherever the 72 players from the 1972 Miami Dolphins were at, Larry Zonka, Bob Greasy, assuming Bob Greasy was doing a assignment for NBC, they bet they popped their champagne corks. Yep, so we're going to try to say that's screen, and I'm freezing on us though, so we will. Here we go. So we got week 7 around the National Football League scoreboard. We will show you. As we're just so here are some of the scores from week number 7. It's the we're just getting a little bit of trouble just to set this screen thing rolling footage in, so we apologize for the inconvenience. So here we go. So we're gonna just trying to get this one in. Okay, come on, come on, come on. All right, so final scores from week 7. Giants over the Falcons 19-7. So with the win, the Giants improved to 4-3, while the Falcons dropped to 3-4. Phil Simms threw 247 yards and a touchdown. Threw for 247 yards, a touchdown. Steve Barkowski threw 211, threw 3 interceptions in the contest, and then that was an important win for the New York Giants. The New York Jets beat the Cleveland Browns 24-20 at Cleveland Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, on the lakefront in Cleveland. Pat Ryan, or I should say, Johnny Hector, 10 carries for 97 yards, and Ozzie Newsome caught 14 passes for 191 yards in the losing effort, but was enough for the Browns as they fall to 1-6. The Jets improved their record to 5-2. The St. Louis Cardinals with a win against the Chicago Bears on week 7 of 1984, 38-21, as Neil Lomax threw for 271 yards, 1 interception, a touchdown. Walter Payton rushed for 100 yards and a touchdown. O.J. Anderson rushed for 82 yards and a touchdown. Roy Green, one of the more underrated wide receivers in the NFL back in the 80s, 6 catches for 166 yards in the losing effort. Bears improve 4-3. Cardinals go to 4-3. Patriots over the Cincinnati Bengals at Sullivan Stadium in Foxborough, 20-14, as Moise Tutupu rushed for 93 yards. Chris Collinsworth, 6 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. The veteran Stanley Morgan, 3 catches for 102 yards. Patriots go to 5-2. Bengals fall to 1-6. Then it was the Philadelphia Eagles at Veterans Stadium over the Indianapolis Colts. This was the Colts' first year in their new home in Indianapolis, 16-7, as the Eagles go to 3-4, Colts drop to 2-5. The Miami Dolphins, the only unbeaten team left in the NFL, with the Niners losing to the Steelers, they win 28-10 over the Houston Oilers, as Dan Marino threw for 321 yards, 3 touchdowns. Mark threw for 6 catches for 83 yards in the contest. So the Dolphins now, they beat them down at the Orange Bowl. Dolphins are now 7-0. Houston Oilers fall to 0-7. Dolphins up after 7 weeks of the 1984 season. The Dolphins are the only team undefeated. Meanwhile, at the Superdome in New Orleans, the Rams were able to win 28-10 over the New Orleans Saints at the Superdome, as Eric Dickerson, 20 carries for 175 yards in the contest, and Jeff Kemp threw 3 touchdown passes. The Rams improved to 4-3. Saints fall to 3-4. So the Niners lead in the NFC West, still with a comfortable 2-game lead, as ahead of the rest of the pack. Saints fall to 3-4, and with both the Falcons and the Saints losing on Sunday, Week 7 of 1984, they both trail the Niners by 3 games. Rams are only 2 games back. The Kansas City Chiefs over the Chargers 31-13, as the Chargers leading the way. As Chandler, or I should say, the Chargers go to in the Pack Silverdome in up in Motown. It was uh, Billy Sims leading the Lions, 16 carries for an even 100 yards, and they won that game in overtime, 13-7. Leonard Thompson 5 catches, and up had 5 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown game winner in the overtime period. Then it was the Seattle Seahawks. This is when they were in the AFC West for all those years. They hold off the Buffalo Bills 31-28 as the Seahawks hand the Bills their 7th consecutive loss. The Bills fall to 0-7. Seahawks go to 5-2. Steve Largent, 5 catches, 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dave Craig threw for 231 yards and 3 touchdowns. Seahawks have already renewed. The Redskins all over for the Redskins, 34-14 over the Dallas Cowboys. Redskins go to 5-2. Cowboys 4-3. Joe Theismann threw for 182 yards, 3 touchdown passes. John Riggins, known as Riggo the Diesel, 32 carries for 165 yards. Tony Hill, the former Stanford star, 9 catches for 134 yards in the losing effort. Former Raider Calvin Muhammad, 5 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown. Then the defending Super Bowl Raiders getting off the schneid, or off a great start, 23-20 over the Minnesota Vikings. As Marcus Allen, or say, I think, or I should say, Mark Wilson threw for 268 yards. He threw a touchdown and an interception. Raiders fall to 6-1. The Vikings fall to 2-5. And then on Monday Night Football on October 5th, the next night on Monday Night Football, it was the Denver Broncos beating the Green Bay Packers 17-14 in a blizzard snowstorm in Denver. As it was leading the way was Sammy Winder, 29 carries for 86 yards. James Lofton had 11 catches for 206 yards in a losing effort. So with the win, the Broncos improved to 6-1. Wow, the Packers fall to 1-6. And there you have it for week number 7 around the NFL. As we're trying to get this thing back on freeze. Here we go. So that was a wraparound of a recap of week number 7 in the National Football League. So now we're gonna um, towards Yep. So as I was saying, the Niners, they in the NFC West, they have a comfortable two-game lead over the LA Rams, and they're three up on both the Falcons and the Saints as the season getting closer towards the midway point, towards the halfway mark. So the Niners, their only loss this season, and next time when we continue on our series next week, when for 1984 40-year anniversary recap of the Niners, we'll go back. We'll go to Week 8 when the 49ers will travel down to the Astrodome in Houston. They will take on the Houston Oilers down at the Astrodome. This will be their first matchup between Joe Montana and another future Hall of Famer, former Washington Husky and former Edmonton Eskimos, a young Warren Moon. We'll recap that game next week. Tomorrow, or on Tuesday, we'll recap week number we'll recap week number 6 as we also commemorate observing the 1989 49ers 35th and 35-year anniversary of them winning back-to-back Super Bowls. We'll look back at week 6 when the 49ers take on the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of storylines that week leading up to the Niners and Cowboy game. Two teams, by the way, were going opposite directions. The Dallas Cowboys, a team rebuilding with Jimmy Johnson, now taking over for the legendary Tom Landry. Of course, Jerry Jones is their first year, the new owner for the Dallas Cowboys. And, of course, that week will be remembered when Herschel Walker was dealt to the Minnesota Vikings. We'll get into that in our next edition, our 49er flashback. Plus, we'll look back on week 6 of all the scores from that 1989 season. So join us on our next 49ers Live on Niners Radio 49. But, and then next week, and then later in the week, we'll take a look of when the Niners commemorate their 30-year anniversary of the 1984 Super Bowl season. We'll take a look back at week number 7 when the 49ers traveled down to the South to take on the Atlanta Falcons. Deion Sanders return. We'll talk about that one later this week. So before we call it a wrap, before we go, there's a good segment on from our friends from 49ers.com. We going to show you this. This was from the 49ers, and they are bringing smiles to a local children's hospital. Here is a piece. This video is courtesy from the 49ers, from 49ers.com. And like I said, this is for educational purposes only. Hope you enjoyed the video.
Today we had the opportunity to come and visit a local children's hospital and spend some time with kids and their families, give them some gifts and some words of encouragement, and really just to be around people and spread some joy, to give an opportunity for people's minds to get off maybe some of the things that are going on right now in their lives, give them hope, something to look forward to, and something else to think about. And so today was an awesome opportunity for us to do that and to be that love and spread that.
We got to go room to room, hang out with some awesome kids who are going through some really tough times. Just try to put some smiles on faces, and honestly, all that smiles were put on my face and other guys' faces. So just a really, really wonderful experience today at this children's hospital. It's a really special moment because just to go into one room, try to have a conversation with a kid, their parents, and just put a smile on their face means the world to me.
Impressive, everything we asked for, man. You did it. You did the whole first half. Guys, nothing changed the second half. Just a reminder of how hard football is.
All right, that was a clip. The 49ers, George Kittle and Jordan Dixon, them going visiting that local children's hospital. That video, courtesy by 49ers.com. And like I said, no copyright infringe intended. This is just sharing for all 49er fans, just something out of the heart. I am not, it's for educational purposes and educational purpose only, just as a rolling clip. So thanks, a shout out to the 49ers and of that clip. Well, that's going to do it for now. 49ers are back at work this week. They'll take on the Kansas City Chiefs. We hope we get somebody from Chiefs Kingdom to come on later this week in the podcast. And that is going to do it. We'll have another 49ers Live on Tuesday was we get you ready for the rematch of Super Bowl 54 and 58. Niners trying to snap a 4-game losing streak against the Kansas City Chiefs. They have not won a game against the Chiefs in a decade. So, latest news of the 49ers, go to 49ers.com and check us out on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@NinersRadio49. For now, I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. Thank you for watching 49ers Live tonight on Niners Radio 49. 49ers Live tonight on Niners Radio 49 is an association with the Satellite Digital Media News Network. Have a very good night, everybody. Take care.